Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for January 13th, 2025. Coming up, the Cavs streak is over, but the Pacers and the Kings are still streaking. Paolo and Aaron Gordon are back, and we look ahead and make some picks. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys. Another big and busy weekend in the NBA where I forgot the Thunder and Knicks even played Friday night because we had so much stuff happen on Saturday.
I think the Knicks did too.
Yeah, rightfully. But they did bounce back a little bit, and we'll get to that in a minute. Guys, the biggest news on Monday morning, the Cleveland Cavaliers will not have a 15-game win streak when they go up against the Thunder later on this week because they ran into the Indiana Pacers, who held them to only 93 points in a 108-93 win. The Pacers' sixth straight win. Obviously, got to talk about the Cavs first because this is the end of a 12-game win streak. They had already won 15 games to start the season, Zena. This is the number one offense in the NBA. Yeah. They fall to 33-5. We've been impressed with them all season. It was always going to end at some point. I'm just a little bit surprised it was the Pacers.
Yeah, the Pacers defense somehow did something to that Cavs offense. Like, they did not look like themselves, particularly with their 3-point shot. They hit a season low, 27% from beyond the arc. And they were almost held to a season low field goal percentage, just one game outside of the game they had against Washington. But in that game, they won.
Right.
So it was very interesting to see them have these kind of end of shot clocks and one mixtape type of offense situations going, and all because Indy picked it up and picked them up full court as well in the second half.
I mean, look, and Halliburton had to leave this game. I mean, he was injured. He only had 2 points. And he has struggled with the hamstring since last year. Yeah. So it was a bummer to see him go out, especially because he had such a nice run here lately.
For sure. Yeah.
But Andrew Nembhard is kind of like PG-1 for them now. I feel like he has taken over not only the playmaking duties, but also point of attack defense. And Zena just said, picking up guys full court. That's the ball pressure that they had that playoff success with. And now we're seeing in the regular season, they've been great.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to me that the Pacers kind of play up to competition. We saw them against the Celtics last year. They still play well against the Celtics. And then now against this high octane offense in the Cavaliers, they know what to take away. And Zena pointed it out. The full court pressure was a massive part of this game because they were generating turnovers. Cavs are a team that like to move the ball, right? They're letting these kind of assists fly and whatnot. And I think a part of what they kind of played into the Cavs scheme is that Indiana was like, hey, you guys are moving the ball. We're going to pressure it. We're going to make you guys make decisions quicker. And that way, force turnovers, get out and running. You had guys like Jarris Walker and whatnot playing well as well. But I'm glad you brought up Nembhard because I think he's the major reason why the Pacers are turning around their season. I mean, if you look at just when he came back from his injury to now, that's why they've been improving. That's why they're climbing up these Eastern Conference standings. I mean, they almost had a chance to be fourth in the East tonight if it weren't for a magic win. This is a team that now has that point of attack defender, to your point, Dave, that can lock up, that can be a secondary ball handler next to Tyrese Halliburton. It's crazy how important this role player really for Indy is to everything that they do.
Yeah, Jared Weiss.
Also, oh, sorry. Like,
just I was going to say,
point,
Jared Weiss and Sam Amick just wrote a big piece at The Athletic,
Nice.
kind of chronicling the entire turnaround for them. But go ahead, Zena.
Yeah, no, just thinking about Indiana, they're also sneakily big. And I'm happy you brought up Jarris Walker. I mean, he was the factor that turned things around. It was 77-73, and then he had a crazy dunk, and then he had an outside shot.
Yes.
And between Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Miles Turner, having people that big out on the perimeter or inside that can play both ways, that can score inside and outside, that is a factor that Cleveland's had all season, actually. Right. And, you saw Indiana use it against them. And so that was really a huge factor in the Pacers' win overall.
Yeah. And if you think back to what the Thunder were able to do to them last week and how they bothered Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland a little bit, you look at what the Pacers do. I don't know. I think teams we're going to be seeing more ball pressure for the Cavs going forward, and probably again when these teams meet in a couple of days because they're doing the home and home with the Pacers. So big week for the Cavs. They got to figure this stuff out because the league catches up pretty quick. Speaking of catching up quick, guys, the Kings are back. I've got to issue a mea culpa here.
Kings no more.
The Kings won their 7th straight win. I said after they dropped that first game under Doug Christie, I said, I don't know if Mike Brown was the problem. I looked at the roster, I say, hey, look, maybe it's a roster issue. Well, now that they've won 7 straight, and during this win streak, they've had the 7th best offense and the 3rd best defense. Guys, Mike Brown might have been the problem. I don't know.
Yeah,
this team looks night and day different.
It is interesting to see that since Christie, took over at the helm, the Kings are 1st in rebounds, they're 2nd in points, and 3rd in steals in the NBA since he became the head coach. And it's also really interesting in the ways that the players have reacted to him and how it's translated out on the court. You've seen that their defense has picked up, and that's not necessarily something that, with Mike Brown leaving, you would expect, because that was their bread and butter under Mike Brown. But DeMar DeRozan did something that was really interesting that I read in an article where he showed a clip to his teammates of what Doug Christie looked like as an NBA defender back in the day. And that it was kind of like a buy-in. If Doug Christie is asking us to be in passing lanes, to press up on our defenders, to make sure that we're, head on a swivel, doing all of the things defensively so that we can make opponents cough up the ball and get turnovers and things of that sort. This is what he did when he was here. Mm-hmm. Like, let's buy in. And I thought that was really, really cool. And the other thing too, on the offensive side of things, De'Aaron Fox saying Doug Christie has made our offense really simple. It's very interesting in that he even compared their offense to the Memphis Grizzlies and saying that they don't run a lot of stuff now in the half court, but it's cutting hard. It's making sure there's player movement. It's making sure you're playing with pace, and there's a lot of spacing as well. And I'm like, dang, Doug Christie brought that too. Like, you know what? Who knew?
They built a team. They built a team that has a lot of hoopers on it. I mean, it's guys that are probably just better served improvising. I mean, DeMar DeRozan obviously been doing that his whole career. De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, and when you see the sort of performances they've got, I mean, they made Herter look like a star in one of these games by just saying, go cook. So
I have to bring up just one guy that I think we're missing here. There's one major difference between the Kings now and what the Kings are now, and that is Keon Ellis. He is finally playing. And I think that is the big issue with Mike Brown is he was in the doghouse. Like, he just wasn't playing a lot under Mike Brown. Now under Doug Christie, he's playing more minutes. He's more engaged. He made winning play after winning play in their double overtime game against the Miami Heat. One of their lineups right now, they're basically their starting lineup with Keon Ellis in there, is a plus 22.2 net rating in that starting lineup. It's only played 100 minutes together, but he impacts winning. The dude just knows how to play defense. He's incredible in passing lanes. And so you guys talk about the defensive improvements. You guys talk about the connectivity that they have on the offensive end. All of that is because of this utility knife in Keon Ellis, who is finally playing. And by the way, kudos to Doug Christie for noticing that and recognizing that.
Just going right away, by the way. This did not take, it did not take 5 games. I think he was probably in the same boat as us. Like, why isn't this guy playing? I don't know. Guys, the Knicks bounced back on Sunday after getting smacked by the Thunder at MSG, which, look, the Thunder, that's the real deal. That's a tough matchup, but the Bucks are supposed to be tougher than this. They got beat by 34 on Sunday. And it's another game where the Bucks defense, especially point of attack, is just getting destroyed. Jalen Brunson had 44 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 30 and 18 rebounds. So you're getting beat inside and outside to a certain degree. And I don't know, guys. I think the Knicks, I want to put them in the next level. I want to elevate them because of games like this. They dropped 140 on the Bucks.
Yeah, they have these moments, right? But it feels inconsistent because you see them against the Thunder. And then, by the way, against the Thunder last week where they played competitively, they were in it, the offense was working well, and then they just kind of faltered near the end. That game, the second game against the Thunder, it wasn't the same at all. They got destroyed. The 3-point shooting, the discrepancy there was massive. And so it feels like they rely so much on the 3-point shot to kind of get their offense rolling. And for what it's worth, I agree that they just carved up the Bucks. I mean, there wasn't a soul on the Bucks that could guard Jalen Brunson today. And I think that's part of it. It's like when there is this matchup that works really, really well for them, they're able to dominate. They're able to look like, hey, maybe the best offense in the league at times. But there are certain matchups that make things really hard on them. And OKC, clearly best defense in the league. That's one of them, right?
I
Yeah.
think that's
Brunson
what concerns me.
Go ahead.
I think that's what concerns me with the Knicks is that there is such an emphasis on Jalen Brunson needing to do well. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo said after the game that Jalen Brunson may be the best point guard in the league, like one of the best point guards in the league, as Damian Lillard is right alongside him. It was just, that's what Jalen Brunson does. He has a crazy counter move bag. He made Andre Jackson Jr. look like a bad defender. Yeah. And folks, if you've been watching Andre Jackson Jr., you know that is categorically not true. But if Jalen Brunson and Cat have to consistently be the focal points of the offense, Mikal Bridges can't take a night off. Josh Hart can't take a night off. Like, there needs to be a better balance across the Knicks. And I think that that's what the Thunder game exposed. And yes, this Bucks game fed into what they do, but that's where they need a little bit more consistency in how they show up offensively.
I believe that what the Knicks really need is just a bigger rotation. And I think if they could get 8 or 9 guys out there instead of 6 or 7.
That's true.
Hey, Mitchell Robinson comes back.
Maybe they have a little bit more balance. Yeah.
Look, Mitchell Robinson comes back. It makes your rotation 8 or 9. And then now you're working with a little bit more grease in terms of rotation players and whatnot. Yeah. I don't know. I think, you know what? To your point, Dave, I might want to put the Knicks in that tier, but I just want to see them do it against the top level competition. Give me a win against the Cavs. Give me a win against the Celtics. And then I'm there,
So they're definitely in the prove it zone for sure. Yeah. I mean, this is a team that needs to prove it in the regular season as well as once we get to the playoffs. Guys, stick around at the break. We're going to talk about Paolo's comeback. 34 games missed, and I don't think he missed a beat. Well, we got a big return for the 4th place Orlando Magic on Friday night as Paolo Banchero came back from a 34-game absence to score 34 points in a loss to the Bucks. They did pick up a win on Sunday, and he had 28 and 6 and that. So, guys, I think it's safe to say Paolo not only back on the court, but back. He just looks like he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. No, yeah, he looks comfortable. And I think the more he's able to get to his spots, especially because I think one of the underrated things about Paolo is his passing. So in the mid to high post area, that's a source of offense for the Orlando Magic, who I think they rely on their defense to get them going in games. And, you know how Jamal Mosley is able to coach this team defensively. But I think offensively, you lean on Paolo as a guy who can create for you from that area. And the shot making also propels them that way. So, I mean, he's just been exactly what you think Paolo would have been, right? And he got off to a career start to start this season. He's just picking up right where he left off.
And I think there's something to be said about the fact that his 20 points that he had on Sunday, 15 of them were in the second half. Mm-hmm. And when you're coming back from an injury and you've got minutes restrictions, you're kind of expected to kind of teeter off in the second half. And instead, you're seeing his game pick up. And you saw that across 2 games in a row, him just picking up the intensity as time went on, which is a great sign for the Orlando Magic. And also great that their team was able to pick up the slack regardless, with Goga going down in the middle of the paint for them. They had other players, Jonathan Isaac, step up. And that's really been the narrative of this entire Magic team all season long. They just don't die. Next man up. Right. Yeah. They are really a really tough team.
Yeah, they were down to 8 players on Sunday. So definitely good to have Paolo back. Now we got to get Franz back. We got to get Jalen Suggs. And shout out to my guy, Goga. I hope that he's just back for the next game. This is not going to be some long-term injury. Let's hope. We had another return, guys. The Nuggets, who have bounced back, got Aaron Gordon back, and then they came back on Sunday in their game against the Mavericks, who are missing a bunch of guys. They were losing this game, and I was very nervous. I was actually texting with Adam Mares, who covers the Nuggets for DNVR, and he said, if they lose this game to a beat-up Mavericks, I'm calling in sick tomorrow. He just said, there's no way. You got Aaron Gordon back, all these guys back. But the truth of the matter is, look, Aaron Gordon looked pretty good. But Jokic has found a running mate in Russell Westbrook that has just surprised kind of everyone. And by the way,
not
snuck
Jokic.
up on us. Not Jokic, exactly.
It didn't surprise Jokic. This was the thing. in the offseason, when Russell Westbrook signed to this team, everyone was confused as to why this made sense. No one debated it for it more than Jokic. He saw the vision. He saw the vision mostly because I don't remember exactly the word or the quote he used, but to paraphrase, Russell Westbrook is a player that will run through walls to win a game. And that's what Jokic wants alongside him. That's what he believes that he needs in order to win an NBA championship. And that is what Russell Westbrook has provided the Denver Nuggets since he's been on this roster. And so it surprised no one, maybe except for, it only surprised everyone but Jokic. Jokic
right,
was
except for Jokic.
On board.
You know, Michael Malone, after every single game, has gotten to the point where he sounds like a broken record when he talks about Russell Westbrook, and he talks about, the professionalism, the intensity that he brings every day.
Yeah.
We love Russ.
Right.
And I mean, to be fair, like Russ has set a tone there that when we first started watching him this year, first 5-10 games, it was really rough. And again, Jokic was right.
Absolutely, he was. And by the way, like the numbers do not lie. Westbrook and Jokic are, I believe, a top 15 two-man lineup in the entire NBA. So like they are winning their minutes like crazy. They're dominating. You guys mentioned the two-man connection. I think it's also brought out the best of him defensively because Russ is able to just be this active guy off of the ball, getting out in passing lanes and then pushing in transition. I think the question I have moving forward, especially now that Aaron Gordon is back, it's like, how do you deal with the spacing of Gordon, Westbrook? You have this kind of combination of guys who, again, on a team that doesn't shoot a lot of threes, you're worrying about the spacing next to a guy like Nikola Jokic. And with that trade deadline coming up soon, you wonder if they maybe try to do something else. But I don't know. I think to your guys' point, the Russ Jokic pairing, perfect. No notes.
Well, we've seen Aaron Gordon space well when Jokic and Jamal Murray were the duo. Yeah. And he does that thing in the short corner, getting to that short corner position, playing above the rim really, really well. So I think that this is going to be a shift for his game as well. He's not going to be necessarily as needed offensively, but obviously always useful on the defensive end. A really cool stat, though, on the last point on Jokic and Russell Westbrook that Andrew Schlecht, our producer, pulled. They're the first duo in league history to each record a triple-double in the same game twice in the same season. And it makes me think, like, Russell Westbrook and Jokic are triple-double machines on the same team now. Like, that's scary stuff. That's scary stuff if they start to click.
And they also, and this is funny, their first duo to record a 25-point triple-double together, which just feels crazy because Jokic almost averages a 25-point triple-double every game. And you would think one guy in his career would eventually do that. Look, this team is now the 4 seed in the West, and they're getting healthier. They're getting better. And I think all expectations are that they will make some sort of an improvement coming into the deadline. Are we ready to say that the Nuggets are back?
I think I said it last week with Kelly, where I was like, if there's one team or one or two teams that I'm kind of curious about in a matchup against OKC, it's the Denver Nuggets. It's the Dallas Mavericks. We'll see what happens with the injuries with Luka and Kyrie on the Mavericks. But for Denver, I'm buying in on the best player in the world being there. I'm buying in on Jamal Murray playing better as the season progresses. Aaron Gordon coming back. I'm buying in on Russell Westbrook. I'm buying in on Christian Brown, who's been playing really, really good basketball this season. Michael Porter Jr. is shooting the lights out. I wonder what they do at the deadline, though. I think that's my main question. It's like, how are you going to improve this team that is really, really financially strapped? But I am in. I'm in. When you have the Denver Nuggets, I'm down. Let's do it.
I'm going to be fiscally conservative and just wait. I've seen enough games where the Denver Nuggets have not shown up against their competition that I'm just going to be a little bit more reserved, but we'll see.
I'm just excited. I'm just excited.
I get it. No, I'm with you. I get it.
I get it. All right. Stick around. We'll be a little more liberal after the break. Okay, this is the part of our Monday show where we try to preview the week. We're going to make some picks brought to you by our friends at BetMGM, and our pick for game of the week. I mean, there was really no other option. Thunder, Cavs, part 2. We got it Thursday night. It's going to be in Oklahoma City. Guys, make your pick. We saw part 1. It was the game of the year. I think we're going to get a follow-up performance that's going to be just as good. Make your pick.
I thought you were going to say make your popcorn, which I absolutely am.
Make your popcorn.
Get it ready
for this game.
No pre-made.
I want to see them split. I want OKC, they're going to be at home. They're going to be revved up. They want their revenge on the Cavs that broke their streak and now they have to restart it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm taking OKC too. I think the home court advantage will be a major factor here, especially because OKC's crowd is awesome. I think the fact that they are motivated, I mean, they destroyed the Knicks after losing to the Cavs. So they are going to have this marked down on their calendar, no doubt. I'm going to go OKC. I feel like it's crazy to say no brainer against a team that has only lost 5 games, but it does feel like a no brainer.
Yeah, but you can't call yourself a bunch of dogs if you're not going to try to eat when the big dogs roll through. I think we're all with the Thunder on this. Again, the home and home split just kind of spiritually feels right for these two teams. Yeah. I mean, if they wind up in the finals and it goes to a game 7, I mean, you know what I mean? That's what this just has the vibes of a heavyweight fight. So, we're going to go all Thunder. Andrew Schlecht's going to hate it because we're putting a jinx on him, but that's where we're at. We're going all Thunder. We also made some other picks this week. Our sicko picks of the week, where we're picking the sicko games. And I'm going to start this one off because I'm very excited about this. Number one, the Pelicans are getting healthier. This was, they played the Celtics on Sunday, and it was one of the healthiest team games that they've had all year. And they didn't have Herb Jones and they didn't have Brandon Ingram. And they were right there with the Celtics. Zion looks so good since he's come back. What he and DeJounte are doing together offensively is just something that we haven't seen for the Pels, and it makes a lot of sense, especially when Trey Murphy is playing as well as he is. But also the Bulls just seem to always have these games that are on drugs, they're knockdown, drag out. They're almost going to overtime. There's a game winner. There's something crazy happening in every Bulls game. Zach LaVine scored 30 in 6 straight and has looked like an all-star all season long. I just think that this is kind of a big game if you really love basketball. So that's my pick, guys. Sicko game of the week. Pelicans Bulls Tuesday night. You got to watch it.
That's a really, really good one.
That's a good one.
I'm liking that pick. I am choosing Pistons Knicks on Monday night.
Nice.
You've been catching up with the Pistons. Cade Cunningham is a shooting star right now for that team. They are just like killing, just playing so well and clicking so well. They've won 11 of their last 15, and that 15 game package started with a win against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. So you can imagine that the New York Knicks are going to come in hungry to get a dub over the Pistons. And so, I like Pistons Knicks. Knicks don't want another bounce back game. They don't want a couple of them. That's what Jalen Brunson said after their win on Sunday night. So definitely expect them to come in locked in and focused to try to take down Detroit.
Pistons rolling too. Okay. I actually have a Knicks game as well. It's later in the week on Friday. It is the Julius Randle return game. Minnesota Timberwolves versus the New York Knicks. Timberwolves have kind of been hot and cold is the way to put it this season. They've been one of the worst clutch teams in the league. And part of that is because of the struggles offensively between Randle and, all the other, we've talked about it on this podcast of how they've been dealing with some spacing issues. The return game between Dante. Remember Dante DiVincenzo beating with Rick Brunson?
That's right.
There's a lot there, even for the sicko. Yeah.
That's a pretty good game. It's funny to call Knicks games sicko games, though. I assume that. That's most of these are on national TV. No, it's a good sicko game.
Nets Clippers.
That's a good sicko game because Dante DiVincenzo against the Villanova guys is a battle in and of itself. So, that's definitely worth watching. And the Knicks are so fun.
Wonder if there'll be any FaceTimes before that.
I don't know. Did they kick him out of the group chat?
They must have. They must have.
So. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. For Zena Keita and Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.